Hi there.
Okay, so who are you?
My name is Badger Johnson. I'm a graduate student at the University of Missouri Center for Agroforestry, which is located in scenic Columbia, Missouri. We're here in the middle reaches of the Hinkson Creek watershed, uh, going up slope from a first order stream that dumps into the Hinkson near a nature area.
Okay, and what are you seeing around you?
Well, I'm seeing a fairly intact canopy, tall trees. I think the site quality here is good. The landscape is steeply dissected by erosion, so yeah, and right here we're in a little pawpaw thicket, Asimina triloba, and today we're here harvesting ramp seeds. It's the middle of October, and the ramps, which are a species of wild leek, people usually say wild garlic, but they're a little bit closer to a leek, the seeds are finally ready to harvest. The leaves, which are the main edible part, along with the bulbs, came up in March, were here for all of April, and disappeared in May. But now they're throwing up their seed heads, so they have a chance to get a little bit of warmth and then stratify over the winter and hopefully come up in spring.
Okay, and what are the possible species interactions that you're seeing in this spot?
Well, I thought it was really interesting. There's a lot of shade here, which might be good for keeping down the invasive species. There hasn't been a lot of logging here, so there hasn't been, there's not a thick, brushy understory. But what is really interesting is we're here underneath a thick subcanopy of these pawpaw trees, which are in themselves a valuable crop. And there's more ramp seeds here than there are anywhere else, and you can zoom in on this little patch here. There's just tons coming up, and if you look more closely around the ground, you can see areas where where was that? You can see areas where there's little bulbs sticking up where the pawpaws or the ramps are going to be popping up next year. So one question I have is, which came first, the ramps or the pawpaws? And I suspect that probably the ramps came first here, not because, obviously ramps and pawpaws can coexist, but because this looks like a fairly young and small pawpaw patch. I don't know if it was a white person, like a botanist or something, who planted this patch. I know that another pawpaw patch, or another ramp patch, was planted by somebody in the Missouri Native Plant Society a few decades ago in the near Devil's Icebox. But here, I'm thinking that this might have been a Native American planting, because they're kind of weirdly distributed in this tiny little watershed up the hill, in a way that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense if it had been planted in the last few decades. And yeah, another interspecies interaction that I thought was really interesting is across the gulch. A tall tree has fallen, so there's more light hitting the forest floor. Often people think about these understory edibles and medicinals doing well only in deep shade, but in fact it's getting a good amount of light there. It's certainly not full sun, but what was neat to see is around the small pawpaws that were coming up and all the seed heads for these ramps, I saw lots of some kind of species of vitis, some species of wild grape growing here. and it could be the fox grape or it could be the river grape. My friend Solomon Gamboa has been doing some research on the river grape, and he found that the leaves are very palatable. They're much lower in tannins than other species, so they have sort of a, he just cooks them like a green, and has been grinding up the seeds to make flour. Grapeseed oil is a wonderful source of nutrition. It's a good fat. I'm interested in this because it raises the possibility of doing some viticulture, some wine grape growing, permaculture style in this area. A particular cultivar that comes to mind is Norton, which is this really, really vigorous growing vine that is one of the only basically 2 red wines that are worth anything that people can grow in mid-Missouri if you like dry red wine, because you can grow Concords all day. But this Norton variety is probably vigorous enough to climb up trees and bear fruit. And so just thinking about how I would design a forest garden in the future, we've got white oak here, which is a great mast tree. They're dropping acorns all over the place, which are really great for deer, which are also another harvestable element of the system. And you've got these grapes growing up the oak trees, and then the understory you have these patches of pawpaws, which could be improved by thinning this naturally clonal stand, and then top grafting improved cultivars onto that, because they need to have sex. They can't. I usually think about these. They put out lots of flowers, these clonal stands, but it doesn't amount to much more than masturbation when you come to sexually reproducing the fruit that humans enjoy. So to fructify this stand, you would definitely need to graft on some other genetics so that there could be cross-pollination, and it would be helpful to thin the stand. I'm just thinking, as long as you're thinning the stand, you may as well plant those grapes. Turns out, as we see from across the gulch, the ramps will do fine. So yeah, the plan here is to mosey down to the next drainage where there are no ramps growing, and plant some more ramps, because the habitat is ripe, as whoever that anonymous Native American recognized many years ago, for ramps. We're sort of at the westernmost extent of the range of Allium tricoccum, the ramp. It's a little drier here than really the heart of its territory, but we're here in this microhabitat where we're near the waterway. There's steep, deep, well-drained soil that's rich from limestone weathering, and so yeah, they seem to have taken hold. So.
And how are you going to plant the seeds?
Well, we're gonna rake the fallen leaves out of the way, and then we're gonna scatter the seeds, and we'll take a hard rake and scuff up the soil a little bit so they get good. We're sure that the seeds get good soil contact, and then we'll probably come and just with a watering can water them in if we have time. If not, the rain will come sooner or later. And we're hoping that getting these seeds in early will allow them that period of 30 days of relatively warm weather, which is something that ramps turn out to need before the cold weather. So they need some warm, then they need to stratify in cold weather, and then they can come up in the spring. If they don't get that warm weather this time, they will not recognize the cold weather as an appropriate cue, and wait until after the next summer and winter cycle. So they wouldn't come up for 2 springs if we didn't plant them immediately.
Great. And anything else to say as you're sitting here? This is a beautiful spot.
Well, forest farming that that agroforestry practice that incorporates cultivation of specialty crops in the understory of a plantation or forest is a relatively new idea to the Western imagination. But I think this spot demonstrates that if we're tapping into a much older lineage of agriculture here, one that allows sustainability in perpetuity. So every year, just as part of your lifestyle, you can go into the forest and expand the fecundity of what's going on there without disrupting it. And so that's what we're going to do. And I'm really excited to be here with an anonymous member of one of those communes up in North Missouri. So thank you very much.